Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Kia Simone, and listen, I got a lot of catching up to do, and we're going to start with this double header for Love and Marriage Huntsville, which should be the frenemies of Huntsville, because these people don't like each other. Not the ones that's married to each other, not the ones that's supposed to be friends with each other. These people don't like each other. But let's just get into it. Before we do, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not already. And of course, I got to shout out my super thanksters. Thank you so much to Elijah's Mimi, Felicia Jordan Jackson, and Yvette Greer. Thank y'all. Now let's go ahead and get into it. So last week's episode opens up with Tisha and Marsau at home packing to move out their house. They are apparently going to go move into an apartment, renovate the house that they're living in, and then move back into it. I mean, I get not wanting to live in a construction zone, but unless they plan to completely demolish the inside of the house, why are they moving to a whole nother apartment, which is going to be a whole nother set of expenses to renovate this house, and then they're going to move back in it and still don't have a timeline for Scott Manor. Just let me mind my own business, okay? Because I can't count them people pockets of their timeline. I don't know what they got going on, but it don't make sense to me. Tisha said Marsau's latest timeline update is that they should be in their house in 2 to 3 years. Girl, ain't he been telling you 2 to 3 years for about 5 to 6? So while Tisha is packing by herself as usual, Marsau sits down to fill her in on the guy's gossip. He told her about the whole Tiffany versus Sheree showdown, and that Martel had to go see Tiffany about that she said that Sheree. He told her, listen, I thought Tiffany had better sense than that. I really thought the girl was smart and witty, but I kind of think she might not have it all. Tisha said, well, what happened? So he tells her about the whole Tiffany and Sheree moment, and that Martel had to go see Tiffany about the bullshit she said to Sheree. Tisha said, well, yeah, I don't understand why she wanted to know nothing about dating a cheater when she cheated on her first husband. Like, Marsau said, well, he still thinks she got it in her. He said, I think she's asking this question about what it's like to date a cheater because she's thinking about dating a cheater. That's what I think. So then we move on and we see Tiffany at home with Lewis, and she is filling Lewis in on the whole confrontation that she had with Martel and Marsau. So Tiffany starts her lie by telling Lewis that she was confronted by Martel and Marsau over a conversation that she had with Sheree, and I asked her some questions. Lewis said, hold on. So 2 men confronted you over a conversation that you had with another woman? Tiffany said, yeah. I asked her, what is it like dating a cheater? Lewis said, you asked her that directly? Yeah, I did. I mean, you cheated, I cheated. I just want to know, can you handle it? Can you hold your own? So Tiffany brought up that Martel said that Sheree was upset. Lewis said, well, she didn't look upset that night. Tiffany said, no, she wasn't upset at all. Lewis said, and I mean, if she was, she's a grown woman, so I figured she could at least say, I don't want to have this conversation. No, your wife could be a grown woman and not ask another grown woman that childish bullshit. Tiffany said, I'm a very opinionated person and I don't mind asking questions. No, you have no respect, no couth, and no boundaries. That's what it is. So we cut back to Marsau watching Tisha pack. And Marsau said, well, let me tell you what else she said. She asked Sheree, do you think your pussy is good enough to keep him? So Tisha is shocked. She said, you telling me that Tiffany said to another woman, do you think your P word, not your vagina, but your is that's what she said? Tisha said, if it was me, I'd have cursed her ass out because you don't come asking me no bullshit like that. And I don't even know you, girl. Marsau said, let me blow your mind some more. I asked this girl what made her say all that. Marsau said, do you know this girl looked me dead in the windows to my soul and said it's because she likes blended families? So Marsau told Tisha that Martel asked Tiffany, well, how would you feel if I asked you about your body count? If I asked you how many men you slept with? Marsau said, well, let's narrow that down and ask in the last year. Just mother. Tisha said, no, that's so disrespectful. He said, no, it's not. Not to somebody who is going around dipping their nose in other people's business and relationships and asking women if you think your pussy is good enough to keep a man. Ain't nothing disrespectful to her marriage. Tisha said that she thinks Tiffany gets away with all this slick stuff she says because she's a pretty girl and her pretty privilege protects her. Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. Pretty privilege don't protect you when you put your nose in the wrong people's business. You gonna privilege yourself to an ass whooping. Marsau said, no, she ain't pretty enough for the bullshit she doing. For the bullshit she doing, she need to be a whole dime. I said, well, damn. So then we cut back over to Lewis and Tiffany, and she is telling Lewis about how Marsau called her a Karen and how she's asking, is it because I'm biracial and I'm the only one who's biracial in the group? And that irritates the shit out of me. When you want to duck and dodge your accountability because you overstepped somebody's boundaries, you want to make it about, oh, is it because I'm biracial? No, you're disrespectful. And then when somebody tries to hold you accountable, you add insult to injury by playing on people's intelligence. Tiffany went on to tell Lewis that Marsau actually asked me what the is wrong with you. And Lewis is absolutely offended, which is understandable because that's her husband. And she's like, well, you need to talk to your friends. Well, yeah, he gonna talk to his friends and he gonna get the rest of the damn story. And in the confessional, Lewis is talking about how he going to see them because one thing he don't play about is his family. And Tiffany is rubbing his head, and that's why I love you, my protector. No, he's your easily manipulated puppet. Luckily, these are his friends. But if you did love him, you wouldn't go sell this man half a story and then go send him out to confront some men on your behalf over some shit that you started. I can't stand Tiffany. So we move on. We see Kimmy and Maurice headed to one of Kimmy's appointments. She's moving into the last leg of her journey and she's starting radiation. And they're talking about how she's having hair regrowth and she's really excited about that, but not so much about what excites Maurice. So the conversation about her hair coming back is what kind of led them into this. She says she's starting to get some hair growth back on her head, but it's thin and fine, and she's anxious to see how it's going to grow out. And she starts explaining to Maurice how much her hair meant to her, and that for her, it was a part of her beauty, and that so much of her sexuality is tied up in her feeling pretty. Kimmy said her concern is that Maurice was already requesting more sex before their situation, and now that they have this situation and there's even less sex, she knows that that has to be affecting him, and I'm sure that concern is affecting her. Maurice said, it is what it is. I want you, and I want you to be here. That's the big deal for me. Kimmy, so I'm glad you said that because, yeah, the sex we've been having, that's for you. That ain't for me. I don't be wanting to do that. I don't wake up with that desire. So it's not like I want to do it, but I know that you need it. And he said, so you telling me you forcing yourself to be with me? She said, no, it's not that I'm saying that I'm forcing myself. I'm just saying that I'm not getting the same thing out of the deal that I used to. So, yeah, there's that. They're in the confessional and Maurice is saying how sex is never not on his mind during their treatment process. He said, but he just has to look past it. Kimmy said chemo has a mind of its own and nobody told her that one of the side effects would be a decreased libido, and hers has dropped to like 0. So they go back and forth about whether when Kimmy comes and lays down and puts her leg on him, if that's a signal for sex or not, and she's trying to tell him, no, it's not. I just be wanting to lay down, and you think everything is a signal for sex. So in the car, Maurice said, well, I don't want it to be a only me thing. Kimmy said, well, it's been only you, bruh. He said, so you been faking it. Kimmy said, it's been only you, bruh. Maurice ain't going for that shit. You ain't gonna act like you ain't hear me. So you been faking it? Kimmy said, well, he say no, ain't no damn, either you is or you ain't. What you mean, Kimmy said, you know, sometimes you'll ask me, did you get yours? And I'll be like, no, this is too much. This is too much damn information. I don't want to know this. I don't want to know these people this well. They won't even tell us about when the man don't come home, but we got to know about whether she gets off or not. I don't want to hear this shit. Now, I hate to say I told y'all, but I had said a while back when they had that whole thing with Dr. Francis and Maurice was talking about how he want more sex and more sex and more sex, and Kimmy was just looking at him like, you can handle the sex I'm giving you. I said then that I knew it. I knew it. Kimmy basically told the man, sometimes it's good, most of the times it ain't. Not for me. Maurice said, look here, anything you do repeatedly, you get better at. And I don't want you to get good at faking, which apparently you was already good at. Kimmy said, well, damn it, what you want? Do you not want to get none because your wife ain't in the mood and I'm going through these treatments and stuff? Or do you want me to go along with this bullshit and give you some and get you on out the way? What you want? I don't know why Jesus won't take the wheel and drive them away from us with this. Maurice said, I'd rather you tell me I can't ride this ride than to fake it. I can't take it. So then we move on to Kimmy catching up with her girlfriend, Andrea. And she airs her grievances to her too. So Kimmy is telling her girlfriend how one of the side effects of her chemo is decreased libido. And her girlfriend is shocked. She's like, what? You? What is she, the Rick James of y'all damn friend group? Why is you so damn shocked? So Kimmy is expressing to Andrea that her concern is that, listen, my husband wants it and I don't want to give it. And we already had a problem with me not giving as much as he wanted before this all started. Her girlfriend said, yeah, and I understand because we don't want to end up in other boats. I don't think that's the same situation. She willing, she just ain't able. So Kimmy told her girlfriend about the whole faking it conversation. And she said, I told him I'm not faking it. I'm helping you get what you need. And her girlfriend understood a little too much. Listen. I don't mean to get nobody's grown ass business, okay? All right, okay. But to Maurice's point, anything you do repeatedly, you get better at. And if you're not telling this person that they're not getting you where you need to go, they ain't gonna get no better at it. Please stop that faking bullshit. So they had them a good laugh about how they be faking it and just trying to get their husbands off and out their face. And Kimmy did go on to say that normally she's not the type to fake it, but because of the circumstances, and she knew that they would be going through this for an extended period of time, anywhere from 6 to 9 months, that she didn't want to just say, well, hey, I'll get back with you in about a year. Kimmy said what the base of the problem is she just does not feel pretty right now. She doesn't have hair. She doesn't feel beautiful. And so it's hard for her to get in a space where she wants to have sex. She doesn't feel attractive. She said Maurice might feel like I'm beautiful all the time, but I need him to understand that I don't feel that way about me, and that's affecting how I'm showing up in our marriage. So then we move on to Tiffany and Lewis's baby shower, and we see everyone arriving. Well, when Tisha gets there by herself, they want to know, where's your husband? And she had to explain that her husband has beef with the guest of honor. And then Tisha starts asking Nell, did Mel say how she feels about Martel bringing other women around the group? And I'm trying to figure out why. Why do you want to know? What does that have to do with you, your apartment, your house on the hill? What does that have to do with anything in your life? Nell said, well, as far as she told me, she don't really care about him dating other women. She just ain't ready to meet nobody. So Tisha is at the table catching everybody up on why Marsau and Tiffany are beefing. And she's telling them the inappropriate questions that Tiffany asked Sheree. Well, they knew about the whole how does it feel dating a cheater, but they said that half ain't tell them. That she was running around asking people, do you think it feels good enough to keep them? Yeah, tell that part. So at that point, Mel had arrived at the baby shower. She spoke to Tiffany, and then she came and sat down at the table with the group. Well, they was in the middle of discussing the commentary about her ex-husband's new girlfriend. And Nell said, well, are we going to continue to have this conversation while Mel's at the table? Basically, she won't come to me when this everybody you was talking about me behind my back. No, we gonna say it in her face. Do y'all want to lay this out on the table? Tisha said, well, let's ask her because, I don't want no problems. So she asked Mel, she said, listen, so what's going on is Martel is dating, and we were discussing something that happened recently, and we don't want to make you uncomfortable discussing it in front of you. Mel said, y'all ain't gonna make me uncomfortable talking about nothing. Tisha said, all right then, okay. Nell said, well, all right, well, let me ask you, did you hear about what Tiffany said to Sheree about the purpose he was good enough to keep Martel? Tisha said, well, goddamn. Tisha said, I tried to clean it up by saying vagina, but damn. Well, they going back and forth about the shock that Tiffany would say this. Mel said, you know what, I'm going to get me a plate. I ain't got time. Yeah, they were trying to tell you they was going to blow your mind. Mel gets up, walks away from the table, and chucks the deuces like, girl, child. Mel said, well, I don't understand why my presence automatically summons deep conversations. I said, well, now summon is an interesting choice of word. She said, as soon as I sit down at the table, here they go. Well, no, ma'am. See, they have been talking about this here, there, and everywhere before you even got here. Like, girl, this ain't got nothing to do with you. Now, was it a highly inappropriate conversation to have in her face, knowing she's going to be triggered, even though she says she has absolutely no triggers in regard to Martel? Yes, I think it was inappropriate to have in her face. So Mel went and fixed her a plate and came back to the table to this catastrophe of a conversation. Girl, why? Stormy said, well, now that you back, did they tell you the other part of the conversation? So Mel is just sitting there staring like what now? Stormy said, so you don't know Sheree? Mel was looking at like, girl, she said, you don't know Sheree? She said, no, I met her one time years and years and years ago. Stormy said, yeah, well, it was said that you're a fan. Like you drove to see her and the whole nine. Nell said, hold on. So Tiffany said, Mel is a fan of Sheree. Stormy said, well, Tiffany said that Sheree said that she didn't know Mel, but that Mel had driven to a book signing of hers way back when and that they took a picture together. According to Mel, what happened was there was a natural hair expo years and years ago in Birmingham, and she was a speaker at this program, and that's where she met Sheree. She said, that's the only time I've ever seen her. So just then, we see Tisha husband and Mel ex-husband show up like two damn henchmen. Now, they come in there, and the first thing they is, ain't nothing but women. I mean, well, I see Reese and I see Lou. Well, what did you expect? What did you expect? A club? They're going around the table hugging and shaking hands, and I'm trying to figure out why Marsau wouldn't shake Courtney's hand. Like, why he handling Courtney like Courtney owe him money? Well, now that Martel is there, Mel has tapped out. She gave Marsau her seat and said she's gone. So Marsau and Martel find Lou and they pull him outside to talk. So they have the conversation about the whole confrontation that they had with Tiffany. And they going back and forth trying to figure out who got what information. What were you told? Well, no. What happened? Well, no. Tell me what she told you. Lewis said his first problem is two men approaching his wife about a conversation that she had with another woman. Martel said, well, to clear that up, we weren't necessarily approaching her about that. We were having a meeting to discuss Selma, some event that he has coming up. And I figure, well, since you're here, we might as well go ahead and address this elephant that you left in the room. He said she said things that I felt were very disrespectful, very inappropriate. Lewis said, well, what did she say? Marsau know her ass be lying. Marsau said, what did she tell you she said? Lewis said, well, the first question she told me she asked was, how does it feel to date a cheater? They said, it gets worse. Far worse than that bullshit. So Martel told him, yeah, she asked this lady, do you think your pussy is good enough to keep him? Lewis says, well, I mean, my thing is, I think Sheree is a grown woman. Marsau said, but I don't think I can think of another human being that would say that to a fellow human being. Like, what? So Lewis brought up that he has a problem with them asking what the were you thinking by saying that? Marsau said, well, that was just a reaction. And where did the Karen thing come from? They said, because she act like a Karen. Like, what do you mean? So he starts, well, what's a Karen? What's a Karen? What's a Karen? What is it, a biracial person? Is it because someone is naive? Marsau said, no, it ain't got nothing to do with being biracial or white. Marsau got him a definition for a Karen. He said, a Karen is a person who feels entitled to share their unsolicited opinion to others when it's inappropriate, disrespectful, and condescending. And they feel that their opinions and what they have to say are more important than everybody else's feelings. And I would have to say that's a quite accurate description of a Karen. And Tiffany fits the description to a damn T. So Lewis starts trying to defend Tiffany about when she's asking questions, she's asking based on what's probably going to happen in the future, and she knows how you feel about family, and so she's trying to ask about issues that y'all might run into and hurdles y'all might have to overcome. If you don't tell Cleo to mind her damn business, he's trying to say there was no negativity in her asking, what is it like to date a cheater? You are full of shit. Marsau said, please stop. This is what it looks like when your spouse sends you on a dummy mission. So now Lewis is pissed off with Marsau because he feels like Marsau don't have no say in this. You ain't got a dog in this fight, so why are you involved at all? So now the argument is between these two because Marsau is the one who asked his wife, what were you thinking by saying that? And is also the one telling him to cut the bullshit. Lewis said, so you telling me you feel justified in what you did, Marsau said, yes, I absolutely do. Lewis said, all right, then the next time some shit happened, I'm going to your wife. Marsau said, no, you won't. Well, Maurice comes outside at that point and decides to make himself useful. He said he's going to try to mediate this thing. But you know how him and his brother go when they try to stop some shit, they end up fighting. So Maurice tries to reason with Lewis, and he's basically asking him, do you not understand that there's something wrong with your wife asking this person that she does not know these inappropriate questions? Lewis said he don't see the issue. Because no, Tiffany and Sheree might not know each other, but they have a mutual friend. So he believes that because they share a mutual friend, that this woman should be able to say anything out the side of her neck to this. Man, please go to hell. Marsau is trying to tell him, look, your wife wasn't right. Lewis is pissed off, but I wasn't saying she's right. I'm not saying she's right. Well, what is you saying? So Lewis loops it back around to he's pissed off with Martel and the entire troop because they shouldn't have approached his wife. Listen, your wife don't get to go run amok. And then you tell everybody else that they have to behave by this code of honor with her. Maurice said, well, what did you think when you heard it? He said, I said, really, Tiff? They said, oh, okay, well, long as you was shocked too. He said, yeah, I mean, it's not that I think she's right. I know my wife ain't always right. But my issue is if y'all are my friends, I would prefer that y'all come to me and say, hey, your wife ain't right. So Lewis finally admits that he does believe that Tiffany owes Sheree an apology. And the guys are trying to tell him, no, she owes Martel an apology too. Well, Tiffany must have heard that because all of a sudden she starts having an attack of the pregnancy. So they get through their arguments and the guys are outside hugging and making up and Tiffany is inside falling out. She said she's nauseous and tired. She says Stormy is trying to help her, but all she needs right now is her husband. Yeah, you need him to get away from them finding out the truth about the bullshit you said. So Louis goes inside and he sees Tiffany in a chair and she's holding a napkin under her eyes and she's crying. He keeps asking her what's wrong and she won't say anything. So she grabs him by the head and pulls him into her chest and she's just so she finally spoke up to tell him that she initially thought she felt contractions and she felt exhausted, so she sat down and then she started seeing stars, and the episode comes to an end with Stormy saying, I think we need to call 911. So that brings us into this week's episode, and of course we pick up where we left off. Well, Tiffany is still saying, she's seeing stars, and Stormy goes to get water and Kimmy, because Kimmy is a nurse. So Kimmy comes in and Kimmy is asking her, how she's feeling. And she said, I don't have any of my tools with me. I don't have a blood pressure cuff or anything because we're driving Maurice's car. So she's talking to Kimmy much better than she was talking to Louis. She's able to clearly express that, she was dealing with some exhaustion, that she sees stars when she opens her eyes. Stormy said, well, can we call 911? Tiffany said, no. Well, is you all right all of a sudden? Well, why the hell not? Kimmy said, why would you say no? Somebody needs to check your pressure. I think it was Tiffany's mom on the side said she needs to go home. Tiffany said, I'll be fine. She just needed to get Louis back under her wing. That's all. So she's telling Kimmy she's going to be fine. It's only when she opens her eyes, she's having stars and double vision. And Kimmy said, so what's the hang up for calling somebody to get this checked? Well, I just think I'll be fine in a minute. Kimmy said, I don't understand. Since when do grown people need permission to call 911? So Stormy finally calls 911. Why she is talking to 911 on speakerphone when she clearly cannot hear them, I don't know. Louis said, just forget it. I'm going to take my wife to the hospital. And that concludes the baby shower from hell. So we move on and we see all of the Scotts getting together for a photo shoot at a construction site because Marsau wants to celebrate their progress and their new project manager and that they're actually doing something now. Marsau is building every damn thing but that house on a hill. So they get to talking about the comeback group and this whole Black Expo that they want to have. And Marsau is saying how, he and Martel used to be in business together on Scolt. And now he and Gino are in business together and they're making a lot of progress. And he said, though he and Gino are both successful in their own right, they were able to put their pride aside and come together to actually build business. And he just wishes that they could do the same with the comeback group. Maurice said, well, the issue is when we initially started the comeback group, the whole initiative was what can we give? What can we do for other people? But once agendas and egos and everything else come into the picture, then now you got a problem. So Marsau starts explaining that let's say they get $100,000 in sponsorships for this expo, that what his plan is that he would offer to invest some of that into an initiative that one of the other comeback group members wanted to do, but he's not going to pay them to speak. You're not getting paid for your appearance at this event here. So Marsau and Tisha are saying that they want to do this as a gift to the community that has done so much to support them. And Marsau is saying, so no, we're not going to pay y'all. As a matter of fact, we're asking you to pay. We are asking you to gift your time, your skills, and your talent. That's what we're asking for. So then we move on to a scene where Mel goes to see her attorney. This was the most unnecessary, awkward bullshit I have seen. Why are we here? So she starts the conversation by telling her attorney that she wants to change her name. She wants to go from Holt back to her maiden name. And she's already started doing that publicly. She goes by Melody Cherie. And so I just want to go back to Rogers because that's the name I did everything under until I was 22. That man didn't give a damn. He said, is it Rogers with a D? All he give a damn about is make sure I spell it right on this damn paperwork. I don't care nothing about what you're talking about, ma'am. So the attorney explains to her that typically no one can object to you having a name change. However, the issue is you cannot be in any active litigation in any jurisdiction anywhere in the United States. So that's going to be a no because she is currently in litigation with Martel. So she says to the attorney, child, you trying to tell me that Martel was controlling me when I had his last name and now he's still trying to control me? Just what in the reading is fundamental hell are you talking about? Because where did you get that from? That man didn't tell you nothing about what Martel was doing. That man told you the rule, the law. That ain't got shit to do with Martel. Now, if y'all ever stop taking each other back and forth to court. You can change your name any day you like. So then she starts running down the list of everything she wants us to know that Martel asked for. That Martel asked for phone records, and she wants to know why he wanted her phone records. He apparently asked for passwords to social media, which is absolutely nuts. He wanted to know anyone she's met up with in a romantic way since the divorce. Just a whole bunch of bullshit. So the attorney asked, well, how are you and Martel? She said, well, I know that in the past you've had to send him a letter about coming to my house and the excessive phone calls, but all of that has stopped. And this whole meeting concluded with, well, I guess we'll have to just wait until the case is over. Yeah, that was a big waste of time, but he charged you for it. So we move on and we see Martel meeting with a designer out of Atlanta, Georgia, who is going to be collaborating with him for a suit line. So apparently Martel wants to have his own line of suits, and they're having a meeting to discuss ideas and development. So they brainstorm some ideas, and the designer agrees to work with Martel. And of course, he is ecstatic. He says he feels like this is going to create generational wealth for his children, and because he has 5 of them, he needs all the generational wealth he can build. So we move on to Tiffany and Lewis's house, and she's at home in bed. He's bringing her something to eat. She did go to the doctor. The doctor told her basically she needed to drink some water, elevate her feet, and that she has low blood pressure. So that might be why she was seeing stars. So as they're talking about this, she's sitting in the bed on her computer, and he asked her, what are you working on? She said, my last business trip. He said, well, what are you in bed for right now? Well, because the doctor told me I needed to rest. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with your ass. She said, but this is an important trip to her. She's been invited to speak in DC, and she really wants to make it. So Lewis starts getting emotional, explaining to her how hard it was to see her in distress at the baby shower and how important it is that she slows down. So now Tiffany is trying to manipulate her emotional husband because he gives a damn whether she lives or dies. And she's, well, the doctor told me I just need to drink a bunch of water and rest is relative. And he says, so you think you can just drink a bunch of water and just go? So they start discussing the whole confrontation that happened at the baby shower, and Lewis is telling Tiffany how basically he checked Marsau and said Marsau ain't nothing but old Betty Crocker that's trying to stay in the mix. What? If Marsau is Betty Crocker, your wife is Duncan Hines, and she need to find some business to mind. Tiffany says, well, I do feel like I need to work on how I bring things up, but I have extended myself to Mel and Martel multiple times. If they ain't accepted, they don't want it. Tiffany said, I just really wanted to know from Mel, does it even bother her that she's around her children? And when is Mel going to be open to meeting her? Lewis said, why? She said, because I think it's healthy for their relationship. He said, but that's not your place. How many times has Mel reached out to you for advice? We'll wait. She said she doesn't. We know. He said, well, now that we done cleared that up, don't put me in no more shit. She said, so I'm putting you in stuff when your friends are the ones who put themselves in it? You know what? I can't take this. He said, because I have to respond to it. You go start this shit and I gotta finish it. She said, I don't have time for these stressors. See, that's why I don't take her serious. I ain't got time to play with Tiffany. Tiffany gets on my nerves. So then we move on to a meeting between Kimmy and Mel to discuss all their reservations with this whole Black Expo and this comeback group. And I'm tired of this Black Expo before it even happens. At this point, I wonder, do these people have lives? Do y'all have social lives? Do y'all have friendships, relationships outside of the comeback group? Because this cannot be all y'all talk about. Kimmy basically feels like Tisha and Marsau are repackaging and renaming the comeback group. The Black Expo ain't nothing but the comeback group and some new wrapping paper. Mel said, well, when it comes to the comeback group, I think so much went on within the comeback group that most people are just trying to steer away from it. Kimmy said, Mel, most people would be you. Kimmy said everybody else wanted to participate. As a matter of fact, I'm still paying all the taxes to keep everything alive. We're all trying to make this happen. You the only one don't want to participate. Then come to find out this isn't a meeting between just Kimmy and Mel. The whole group is supposed to be there. They just all late. So Kimmy brings up that she's going into radiation, which is going to be the last leg of her journey, and she's happy about that. She said she does feel like she needs a vacation. And Mel said, well, where do you want to go on vacation? Well, that was Kimmy's segue to get into Mel's business. Kimmy said, I don't know. Where were you? Mel said, out of the country. Kimmy said, which part of out of the country? Where out of the country are we talking about? So Mel is basically sidestepping the question. She don't want to tell nobody where she been, who she been with, what she did. Well, keep it to your damn self. I don't give a damn. Kimmy said, but you posted pictures all over social media and had some human's arm in it. Not necessarily a man, but another human. Who's this person? Kimmy said, well, it looks like you might have a boo. I mean, you don't want to share? She said, no. Kimmy said, why not? She said, because I don't share everything all the time, girl. So when Mel just completely sidestepped the question, and well, I think maybe you should try St. Bart, she said, you can't just post pictures on social media and expect nobody to have questions. Mel said, no, I mean, to be honest, I don't mind you having questions, just like I don't mind saying it's none of your business. Like, that's what irritates me about Mel. She does things to try to create mystery, and there's absolutely no mystery in it. And then wants people like, why would you put it on social media if you didn't want anybody to know that you were with somebody? You know how many situationships is going on, and people are all over social media, and there is not a trace of them being involved with somebody. You want people to think you have somebody. You want people to ask if you have somebody. So everybody starts pouring into the room like they were standing in the hall waiting, because basically that's what's going on. Y'all done told us they late when y'all was just shooting a scene. So when Martel came in, he went around the table shaking hands, and he extended his hand to Mel, and she said, what's up, Martel? And he said, I don't know why she wouldn't shake my hand. I mean, to at least symbolize that we can peacefully coexist. I thought it was childish. I'm so over Mel and Martel and this bullshit drama. I'm just over it. So Tisha starts the meeting off by saying basically she had asked them at the last comeback group meeting to email her with their determination as to whether they wanted to participate and how they wanted to participate in this expo, and she didn't get anything from anybody. So she goes into explaining that she has made the decision that in regard to this expo, she will not be paying anyone, at least not anyone from this group. Mel said, hold on, let me make sure I heard this right. Is she saying that she's not willing to pay anybody in this group, but she'll pay other people who are outside of this group? Is that what she's saying? I think that's what she's saying. Tisha starts explaining that she feels like the community has supported them heavily since 2018. I think she means since the inception of this show. That any product or service that they have, the community has supported them and they've made money from. So she feels like it's only right to give back to the community. She said she does want to raise money by way of sponsorships, but she feels like that money should be reinvested into the community rather than going into their pockets. So then Kimmy started to speak up and said, well, half of Tisha's dissertation was about the comeback group and using the comeback group to substantiate why she doesn't feel like anyone should get paid. So first, was the comeback group ever called the Black Expo? And it said no. And she said, and this goes back to 2016, not 2018, because we've been together longer than that. But was the comeback group actually doing anything? I think she said 2018 because I believe that's when this show came out. That's when everything kind of hit the fan and y'all blew up. But were y'all actually doing anything with this comeback group other than building a model home before this show? Martel said, well, I'm just curious, why do y'all not want to pay? Because y'all have a lot of people in this room that have big influence. And he said, using Melody, for example, if Mel says, I want to get paid, why would you just shoot it down rather than actually say, what do you want to get paid? Tisha said, I did. Nobody emailed me. I asked her to send me her rider and her fees, and I didn't get anything. But Tisha, that's not what you're saying right now. You're literally saying ain't no need to send me a rider, a fee, a contract, because I ain't paying you. That's what you're saying. Mari spoke up to make his position clear. He said he doesn't think they should get paid. He thinks they all should donate and they have a responsibility to donate. Marsau goes on to say that they also discussed that since this is the Black Business Expo, meaning it is branded by Tisha and Marsau's brand, that if they raise sponsorships, that they would then use a portion of those sponsorships to support an initiative that somebody else in the group wanted to lead. So say somebody wanted to do a coat drive or anything of that nature, they would be able to pull funds from the sponsorship and actually donate to their cause. Y'all are absolutely full of shit. So essentially the money does go into your pockets. And then when you find a worthy cause, you'll pull out a couple dollars and give it here or there. Y'all just miss me with this book. Mel said, well, we started this meeting with Tisha coming in 10 toes down on she ain't paying nobody. And that's fine. This is your event. Y'all can do anything y'all want to do. She said, but I do find it interesting that sponsorships are now a subject, and that wasn't even an idea until I brought it up in the last meeting. And now we're going to take the idea that I brought up and say, but this is what we're going to do with it. So Marsau said, we're asking you guys for your time. And I associate anybody at this table having the desire to get paid with greed. If you want to get paid for this engagement, you're greedy. So y'all can have this event. Y'all can raise a bunch of money through sponsorships that y'all are going to pocket. But everybody else should come together and make this collaborative effort of an event happen for free. And then on top of that, y'all don't know how to talk to people. You don't get nobody to donate the time that they usually sell by talking to them like you crazy. Tisha said, I think we all just need to put our egos aside. Mel said, but this ain't egos. We talking about fees. Marsau said, but I feel it's greedy, taking more than you need. You don't get to tell somebody what their time is worth. You don't get to tell somebody that you have to donate your time to me. You don't get to do that. Why would y'all expect that y'all can collect all these sponsorships and want these people who are public figures to speak for free at your event? Mel said, y'all are saying y'all are going to collect these sponsorships and y'all are going to support people on the back end. She said, but the track record says that that's a damn lie. She said, because I have not received any support from anybody here for the events that I've had over the years. She said she's had something called Mimosas with Melody for 3 or 4 years now. She said none of y'all have ever supported that. But now you want to tell me to donate my time up front and you might give me a couple $100 on my initiative later on. Please go to hell. Marsau said, well, going forward, Mel, listen, I feel where the lady's coming from. I'm sorry. Tisha said, well, Mel, I don't feel like it's fair for you to say, well, I've had the Mimosas with Mel for 3 or 4 years and y'all have never sponsored it when you've never asked us to sponsor it. And furthermore, when I tried to come out and support your skincare line, you had me escorted out. Mel said, well, we're talking about sponsorship. Girl. Tisha said in the confessional, I know Mel ain't talking about no damn track record. I know she ain't talking about no damn track record. When y'all got her on camera having me escorted out by security, her and her track record can go to hell. So Tisha's explaining to the group that they never thought that, well, we'll get the sponsorship money and we won't have to pay for anything. She said, no, the goal was to raise a bunch of sponsorship money. And then whenever these small businesses come and present their company to us, we'll have this money off to the side to offer to them. So when the hell did y'all come up with that? This gets more scamish by the minute. Who is going to be presenting their businesses to y'all? Wasn't the Black Expo about y'all presenting y'all's businesses to the community and sharing with them all of the expertise, experience, and resources that you have from your businesses so that they could move along in their own? Isn't that what it was? I didn't know. This was Shark Tank. Tisha said, we're not planning to pay ourselves from it. Marsau said, yeah, because we have riders as well, and we're not charging our fees for the event. As a matter of fact, we're also paying for the event. Well, y'all should. This is your initiative, and part of that is the speakers' fees. If you want to have speakers there, you got to pay people. Of course, y'all are doing this for free. It's for your benefit. Kimmy said, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that worth a damn. Kimmy said, it's hard to even believe the bullshit about we gonna get all this money in, and as business owners and entrepreneurs, you're not going to use some of that money to reimburse yourself for the money spent. Like, stop selling us this bullshit. And I'm sorry, Tisha and Marsau have too many financial obligations for me to believe that bullshit. Y'all got a house on the hill y'all can't seem to get up. Y'all got this house y'all getting ready to renovate. Y'all got business lawsuits and all kinds of things. I don't trust this worth a damn. Kimmy in the confessional said, I have a very hard time believing that they are willing to lose money to put this event on. And the episode comes to an end with Kimmy saying, look, I don't want no money. I don't give a damn about money, but what I do want is for y'all to call this what it is, a comeback group initiative. Y'all took the same idea that Maurice and I put together for the comeback group. Y'all have renamed it, repackaged it, and are trying to resell it to us. And it looks like this mess continues next week. We see that they're going to still be arguing. The ladies are going to a pole dancing class. That's my kind of carrying on. And out of nowhere, then you got Stormy's whole family feuding next week. I don't know what's going on, but her aunt is threatening to beat her mama and telling her, look, you gonna have to bail us both out in a minute, child. I guess I'll be here next week because what is going on? But that's it, that's all, and I ain't got no more. Thank you so much for coming down here, listening to me, and letting me get this off my chest. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not already. And in the meantime, until next time, just like every time, I love you and I mean it. Bye.